Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. This is our year to shine, and I'm coming to you on a not so shiny day. We've had a lot of rain. I don't know if it's the same where you are. And you can hear the rain outside. You might even hear it during this video. But I'm coming to you on Sunday, July 11th, to talk to you today about Cheryl Richardson's next Art of Extreme Self-Care Challenge to be thinking of over the next month. And I wasn't sure what it was going to be, so I looked at it and I thought, I've never done a specific video on this one. Some of the other ones I had touched upon last year during our Simple Abundance year. However, I've done a lot of videos on this topic in other ways. We just finished reading in April and May Francine Jay's The Joy of Less, and then last year with our Simple Abundance year with Sarah Von Bronick's book, we talked a ton about the home and really just making it a soul-loving space, that's what this next challenge is. It's just called Soul-Loving Space. And I'm going to read what she says right here in the intro because I think that's the best. And we have a kitty that's just woken up and is probably going to come over and talk to us here. Yes, I thought you would. Are you in love with your home? It should say first. Do you feel energized and clear-headed? Before I became a coach, Cheryl says, and started participating in extreme self-care challenges like this, my own home and office merely served as convenient and fairly comfortable roofs over my head. Then, as I began to understand the concept of extreme self-care, I slowly discovered that far beyond the point of functional was the experience of actually being fed by my environment. What do you think about that? You think, like, as you look around in your surroundings, not even just with the joy of less, like we went through and pared things down, but do you look around and think, like, I love that painting, or that's my favorite little sculpture, or something like that, where it's feeding your soul? I wonder. I lost my spot. Oh, this meant creating soul-loving spaces that filled me with joy, gave me energy, inspired my best work and thinking, and allowed me to express my creativity within a realm of peace and calm. Where I lived and worked both needed to reflect the things that were important to my soul. So if you're wanting, maybe you're wanting to have more nature in your view. You can finally see some nature out behind me. Or you might thrive with health plants on your desk or something like that when you're working. You might like to have like the sound of a waterfall or like rain outside the window, but I just mean something like a sound maker or an actual like fountain in your office. Music, scents. We talked about a lot about the senses last year. So let's see what she has to say about this and what we're supposed to do. So she wants us to go through our spaces, and we did this sort of last year too, but not with these same questions. And this is what we're going to be asking. What do these surroundings say about you, or me, if you're asking yourself? Do they reflect the essence of who you are? If this space were to tell a story about your life, what story would it tell? How does the space make you feel? What have you been tolerating for too long? Remember last year with Sarah's stories about the really ugly lamps that she didn't want, and she had had them for 15 years, and she finally just said, I've had it, I'm getting rid of these. And her husband was kind of like, why did it take you 15 years to get rid of that? What areas make me feel good, or you good? What areas make you feel bad, and why? If you could sweep the whole room into the trash and start over, would you? That's kind of what Francine Jay was telling us to do. So what do you think? First of all, do you feel like you are affected by your surroundings? I definitely do. And I love decorating, so I can relate to this. And I think, and I live alone, so it makes it a little bit easier, but I think if you walked into my place, you would see little elements of my personality, and there's a lot of vibrant colors, and there's Kitty. So I think the story that would be told by my current place, especially because I've definitely put more roots down here than I did even in the other unit in the same complex. I would say that it tells a story of somebody that wants to be comfortable and likes colors. And I mentioned when we went through the Francine J book that I like little knickknacks and things and statuary and things. I do feel like I try in my decor to show my personality. Like I have some stickers with music notes, and I have colored or decorative light switch covers and things like that, even that have things that I like on them, like dragonflies or cats or just butterflies and other things like that. So I would feel comfortable about the story that it was telling about me right now, and taken me a while to get there, right? Because a year ago I was living in a place that I loved and didn't want to leave, and I felt like I was having a tragic experience of letting that go. And so it took a long time for another place that's very different to become more my own. And it's only in this new place where I can really put my hands in the dirt and have my birds and my garden and everything, that I just feel like I'm like coming back to myself. So that's a bit about me. So I definitely feel like if I had to stay in the other place, which was on the second floor, and just looking over a parking lot and all this noise from a business that was right through the woods, and like not being able to have a garden or anything, like I would be very affected. I would be very, very affected, negatively, I should say. So even just moving here with this, it's the same layout, like I said, and everything, but those new elements, and I have different view, and I face it the opposite direction, so the sun comes in a little bit differently. I'm very affected by my surroundings, and I wonder if you are as well. So the power of being in a space that feels fully aligned with your soul is underrated, Cheryl says. In all of my years of coaching, I've seen few ways to practice self-care, and I've seen so many ways, she says, like to practice extreme self-care, and none that have been more dramatic and immediate on the effect of the quality of life than the idea of the fact that the surroundings, changing your surroundings could have such an impact. I'm not just talking about clearing clutter or getting organized, although that's a huge part of the formula, but I'm talking about reorganizing the impact of your home or office in terms of your emotional, physical, and energetic health, and also with your self-esteem and your relationship to yourself and to others, and your spiritual well-being. Wow. It's called creating a soul-nourishing environment. And I've seen this vital concept, the transformation of a person's home or office, literally transform his or her life. Wow. That's pretty cool that she has evidence of that too. And I could see that. I think it's harder, and we talked about this last year too, it's harder if you share your home with somebody and you're trying to merge styles. But just like we talked about in other books, if you can have, even if it's just a corner, or if it's one room in the whole place that you can make your own and paint it and put butterflies up or whatever inspires you, then at least you could transform that part, and that could be like where you have your soul fulfillment. Or maybe it's maybe it's a matter of talking to that person that you live with, and maybe the surroundings don't even matter to that person, and they don't know how much is affecting you. A soul-loving environment is a home or office free from clutter and disorganization. It's a space filled with elements that allow us to be and to act our best. When we live or work in a place that's crammed with too much stuff or devoid of beauty, it drains our energy. Yeah, we end up feeling depressed, exhausted, and unmotivated. We don't function well, and this can ultimately end up affecting other areas of our lives. I've worked with many people, for example, who feel as if they're drowning in clutter, and over time they end up isolated because they're too embarrassed to share their home with others. Yeah, I can understand that. I've also watched business owners struggle to bring in new clients while working in an outdated office that looks and feels like a black hole. Not the best environment for courting new business. That's important too, if you're putting out your business to the world to see. I mean, if you are going to say like an accountant or somebody that you're wanting to put trust in, and then you walk into their office and it's like total disorganization and like stacks of stuff everywhere, you might be like, oh my God, would they lose my tax return or something like that? While the idea might seem a bit strange, experience has taught me that how we live in our homes, it translates into how we live. So how we live in there, she says, translates to how we live out there. That's interesting too, because, all right, so say I mentioned the things in my own home where it's like, I feel like I'm putting my personality out there to the world, or at least to me or whoever comes into my house. I suppose that would probably speak true to the fact that, you know, I often, like right now I'm not really wearing anything vibrant, but I like to wear like vibrant colors and have really nice jewelry that speaks to my personality. Even with the mask wearing, I've tried to like coordinate my masks with my outfits and things like that. So I'm trying to show my personality, I guess, through that even. So how I have my home set up is similar to how I'm presenting myself to the world out there in public. So I suppose, so say you're living with someone else and, you know, say you moved into their place or something and you just hate the way it's decorated because, like, you know, it was like, maybe it was like a bachelor guy and you know, he just didn't have any sort of sense, and you want to just redecorate and you never feel like you can say that. I would expect that would also be a part of your personality where maybe in that relationship, even like you're not comfortable saying like, can we redo the kitchen or something like that, or maybe that's just your personality in general, where you just sort of like accept that you can't change things or people, or I don't know. That's just an example, and I'm not in that position, but I was just thinking about, I haven't really thought about the fact that like how you accept your surroundings or how you cultivate them or glean them into being what you feel is soul fulfilling. That is probably a translation to how you live. And that's a new way of thinking about it. Thank you very much, Cheryl. Your space says a lot about your life, she says. To understand what I mean, and take a look around you and then go through those questions that I read to you already. If you're like most people, chances are your home or office is less than soul nourishing. Yeah. The most common reason that people are not making it soul nourishing has to do with the amount of stuff that they have. Yeah, so we just went through, you could rewatch some of those Joy of Less videos and see about paring some things down. And that book had a big effect on me, I have to tell you. I just got rid of a whole bunch of stuff in my kitchen. I was like, why do I have, you know, like how she said to like count up how many spoons or whatever you had. I just had all these wooden spoons and spatulas and things like that. And I was like, I'm sure I could just use one. So I have some neighbors, it's their first apartment. I was like, here you go. If you don't want them, get rid of them. So that book had a big effect on me. we spend the majority of our waking hours in the office, sometimes stacked with files of paperwork and books. And the sad truth is that the soulless home or office zaps our attention. The most powerful way we can begin to create soul-loving space is to simply remove 50% or more of what's there. Wow. Wow. She likes to go with the principle of when in doubt, throw it out. When you're brave enough to let go of anything you don't absolutely love or need, what you have left is the space for stillness and possibility. And I would probably add that you're actually you're creating space for more, hopefully not more possessions, but like for more to come to you too. And I do know, like, I have felt like if things get really messy or cluttered, it does mess with my brain too. I can only go with a certain amount of messiness. Like, I'm definitely not super anal about cleaning, but I like to keep a tidy place. But if I let it get messy and then it goes for too long, then I start to be like, I can't take it, you know. So yeah, I can see how that would affect you too. All right, so here's our extreme self-care challenge officially. During the next 30 days, I'd like you to focus on creating a soul-loving space in just one room, that you spend a lot of time in, such as your bedroom, office, or kitchen. That way, you can see and feel what it's like to love where you are. This process will serve as a motivating force for other spaces once you get the hang of the 4-step process. Okay, so we're going to learn about the 4-step process. You don't need to build a new home or create a soul-nourishing space. You don't need to build a new home to create a soul-nourishing space, and you certainly don't need to spend a lot of money. While there are wonderful books that detail smart strategies for getting organized and creating beautiful spaces, I'm going to keep this process simple by suggesting the following 4 steps. Okay, so take note of these. Number 1, examine. Consider how well this space measures up to a soul-nourishing environment. 2, evaluate. Determine what needs to change and how you need to change it. What you need to do to change it, Eliminate. Get rid of anything you don't absolutely love or need. But again, if you live with someone, you might have to check with them. Enhance. Make this space your version of extraordinary so that it reflects the essence of you. And then here we go. She has a couple of questions on page 35 about for each of those steps, things like asking yourself, what does this room mean to me? What's the purpose of it? It's a lot of what we talked about with the joy of less. What must you have in here in order to honor your soul? That's an interesting thought. The kitchen, it's like a functional room. Do you feel like, well, I suppose if you really get a lot of personal or spiritual satisfaction out of cooking, then you would want that to be a soul-nourishing space. But I would think more like maybe a bedroom or an office or a den or some sort of craft room or something like that. Like that might be a little bit easier to really fine-tune to your soul. Unless you feel like really soul-connected in the kitchen. I don't know, I guess I don't. What must you not have? It's an interesting thought. Maybe you hate like the coffee maker that's on the counter or something like that. I don't know. Starting with a simple 1 to 10 scale, with 1 being that you loathe the space to 10 being that you love it, how would you rate the overall feeling? When you think about what needs to change, what immediately comes to your mind? What items are important? What things could you easily let go of? What needs to be added to make this room more soulful? What are some of your favorite elements in the room? Do you love the lighting, a view from the window? So that's good. You're not trying to like hate the whole room. Hopefully you can find some good things. And then maybe if you love the lighting or you love the window, then it's like, well, I need to change the curtains so that they let in more light or something like that. Yeah. When you think about what this room represents, how willing or how will making this space more soul nourishing affect other areas of your life? For example, if you are single and you choose to work on your bedroom, it may improve your chances of attracting a wonderful new mate. That's true. I did a video on feng shui and I talked about some of the bedroom things that you want to do. What do you need to do to be sure that the space remains clutter-free and soulful? All right. What do you do to contribute to making this a less than desirable space? Oh, like thinking about myself. I mentioned this last year too, so I'm not even embarrassed to say it. I still have this issue with taking off my shoes. Just freaking put them where they go. Don't pile up like 3 pairs of shoes by the door. I have a place for shoes and I don't know why I do that, but so like if I were looking at my living room, I'd be like, how am I contributing? Well, I'm not putting my shoes away when I get home. Do you let the mail pile up? Do you hoard paper and information? Do you deprive yourself of the tools you need to stay organized, such as filing cabinets or closet system that will allow you to tame your unruly clothes? This one is very in-depth and there's a lot more questions, and she even has us putting things into piles. It's probably like trash, treasure, or transfer, right? Pile 1 are things that you'll give away to loved ones. Pile 2, things you'll give away to strangers. Pile 3, things that can be recycled. Pile 4, things that simply need to be thrown away. And then let's see what she says about enhancing. What does beauty mean to you? That was one of the Simple Abundance principles last year, and we did a lot of exploration around beauty. So maybe it is sitting with that thought. Maybe you wouldn't know how to put butterflies on the wall, or that you're not even connected with like what you feel inspired by. So you have to kind of examine that first. Creative inspiration in the form of artwork, photos, or loved ones and favorite life experiences, or brightly colored walls. Some of these are examples of things that would inspire you. Some find beauty in the tools that allow them to feel organized. When you begin to add things to your space, let your version of beauty be the guide. Go through magazines and catalogs and things and see what you like. Raise your standards. For example, if you need shelves in your office to hold supplies, you might consider buying a beautiful armoire with an elegantly carved wood door and glass. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be ugly. You could make it elegant and still functional. I like that. And don't let financial constraints prevent you from believing that you can add beauty to your space. Some of my best purchases have cost very little, she says. I love searching for treasures in secondhand shops and flea markets. The items found there may require a bit of enhancement, such as some paint or a minor repair, but I see it as another opportunity to add your own unique style and beauty to a room. Once you're finished creating a soul-loving space in one room this month, bask in the feeling of joy and contentment while in this space. Then use those feelings to fuel work on the next room. But maybe just one room could be, you don't have to take on your whole house. One room would be fine. I like that one. And if you have the book, I think there's more that I didn't read, even though I did read a lot of it. I think it ties in well with a lot of what we've already talked about as far as we went through the home last year, and then that Joy of Less book was very more about minimalism, I know, but I still feel like you were kind of getting to the point of like what is important to me, and I don't think Francine was really much on like embellishing. Like, I'm thinking of my little emoji guys here, like she would be like, get rid of those, they're dust collectors. But that's a part of my personality. So anyway, give this one some thought, and I hope that you can create a soul-loving space of some kind wherever you are. Maybe it's at your office if you can't do it at your home. Maybe it's making your workspace just feel so great, because you do spend a lot of time there. But good luck on whatever you decide, and I will see you on the next video.